On today's show, the Houston Rockets get back in the win column against the Dallas Mavericks with no Luka Doncic. A balanced scoring approach in this one with Jalen Green running the show for most of the game. Defense igniting the Rockets offense, shutting down Kyrie Irving, and so much more. It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment while you're there. Tell me your favorite moment from this Rockets win against the Mavericks. Let me know all your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Also, subscribe to our daily Locked On Rockets newsletter. Would sincerely appreciate that. Happy New Year to you and yours. Hope you are getting off to a great start in 2025, just like the Rockets got off to a great start against the Dallas Mavericks. And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everydayer. Joining us now is your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast, and diehard Houston Rockets fan, Madison Moore, who you can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Here's the Houston Rockets are back in the winning column with a dub over the Dallas Mavericks, 110-99. Look, this homestand wasn't the way that we wanted them to start it with those first two losses against the Wolves and the Heat, but against a Luka-less Dallas Mavericks team, the Rockets taking care of business. And this wasn't a game, look, you go into a game, right, Madison, with no Luka, and you expect, okay, this should be a win on paper, but this Mavericks team, still very talented. You've still got a game plan for and deal with Kyrie Irving, which we're going to discuss at some point, because the Rockets did a pretty good job defending him throughout this game. It's a little bit of a trap game, right, when you go up against a team without their star player. And in this one in particular, the Rockets, you know, they battled back. They went down a couple early times, and they used that really big second quarter, outscoring the Mavs 37-22 to really take control of this game and then never really look back.
Yeah, I thought the Rockets did an excellent job tonight, you know, staying consistent, playing defense, getting out and running on their offense. And we had I thought the second quarter was really key for us, really breaking out and taking the lead in this game and then maintaining it the rest of the way out. I thought the offense looked a bit shaky in that first quarter, but I think once Gafford and Lively got in foul trouble and kind of were off the court in the second quarter, it really opened the offense up for our guards, and then also the defense kind of picked up and they got out and running, and that really vaulted us. And not just we were behind, I feel like, by a couple points, but actually vaulted us to a double-digit lead. And we just maintained that lead going into the second half and kind of maintained that. But we did have some scary moments, but the Rockets pulled it through with a good, solid win.
You know, and honestly, I want to make sure we highlight some of the defensive stuff here, but I was really impressed with the offense in this game. It really felt like a strong, balanced overall kind of scoring approach, right? You had pretty much almost four guys in scoring around that 20-point mark for the Rockets. Yeah. You had Dillon Brooks with 19, you had Alp with 23 points, you had Jalen Green with 22, and then off the bench, Cam Whitmore with 18 points in 24 minutes off the pine. And it really felt like, you know, over the course of this game, like Jaylen got the Rockets started. He had a strong first half, but a strong first quarter when the rest of the offense was kind of mucked up a little bit, and then kept it going in that second quarter. The second quarter was also where Alp and Cam kind of both came alive. Cam had like a super quick 10 points off the bench. He was electric. And then Alp, he struggled to start the game. He was 0 of 4 starting, and then he finished with 23 points, 9 of 16. So after that 0 of 4 start, he went 9 of 12 the rest of the way, so really turned it on there, especially in that second quarter. And for whatever reason, I don't know why the Mavericks did this. Maybe maybe it had to do a little bit with the foul trouble stuff, but they were doubling Alp to start the game. And then for whatever reason, they just started guarding him in single coverage in the second quarter, and that's where he just turned it on. Like, they just had Gafford in single coverage trying to hold Alp. And then even when they brought Lively back, they had Lively in single coverage trying to deal with Alp, and he was just scoring at will on those guys. And then eventually they went back to doubling him later in the game, and that's where he started moving the basketball and getting some of those kick out passes for shooters or just swinging the ball around the perimeter. So that worked out really well. And even for Jaylen, I mean, I thought he didn't connect on any threes in this game, but he only took 3 of them. He was 9 of 18 inside the arc, hit some long twos, got to his mid range. But I was most impressed with his ability. He just drove, just got all the way to the rim, and had some really strong finishes around the hoop.
Yeah, I think the way Jaylen played tonight is how I'd envision him. I'd like him to focus his game in on. I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I like the fact that tonight we saw Fred VanVleet more off-ball role. Now, that may have been just because Jaylen had it going in the first quarter and they want to continue to feed him and see if he can build up on it. But that's something I would like to see happen more often. As long as Jaylen isn't turning over the ball, shots will go in and out. But as long as he's not turning the ball over, I think we should leverage his initiation of the offense, because he and Alp in the pick and roll create so much gravity that often gets shooters wide open shots. And sometimes they don't always convert, but I just think the defense shifts and reacts to Jaylen Alp pick and rolls in a way that just isn't generated with Fred VanVleet and Alp, although they are efficient as well. But like I said, I thought Jaylen had a really good game. I liked his shot diet. I think Jaylen is not a premier three-point shooter, or really just a good three-point shooter right now. And so his game needs to be in the in-between and downhill game. And I thought he got started with a couple mid-ranges at about the free throw line, and I thought he converted on them very well today. And he let that also lead into his ability to get downhill and also getting out in the fast break and really making plays in that way. And I thought he playmake pretty well, even though he didn't get one assist. He didn't even have one assist. I thought he moved the ball well within the offense. It didn't feel that way.
I'll be so honest. Like, looking at the box score after the game, I was shocked to see that he had 0 assists, because it really did feel like it really felt like he moved the ball well, and it felt like kind of the two-man game between him and Alperen Sengun. You mentioned, Jaylen ran the show a lot more in this game. He had the ball in his hands a lot in this one, so it felt like there was a lot of, two-man game between him and Alp, setting the screen and then getting the ball to Alp on the short roll and then finding the next person after that. It really felt like the Rockets' offense looked really good in this game with those two as kind of the bread and butter of the offense for the majority of it.
Yeah, and even the shots I felt like Jaylen missed, they were good shots. I mean, there were a lot of layups that just kind of rimmed out, tough layups. I felt like he tried to finish with the athleticism, and also he didn't get any calls, but I liked him being aggressive, right? And I appreciate that shot diet tonight. Not him falling in love with the 3-point shot, not him coming after every screen if somebody's low, just taking the first open 3 he can get. I'm tired of him settling for those types of shots. I think he needs a different type of shot diet for his game. I mean, that stuff will work for bad opponents, but good defensive playoff teams, they're going to make him work. He needs to find different ways to be effective on different areas of the floor. And I think within that mid range, I think he took a lot of mid ranges tonight and he converted on a lot of them. And that even got opened up even more, where you seen him have a play with Lively in the third quarter where he was setting up for the mid-range, but Lively had seen that he had been making the mid-ranges and kind of attacked him, and he was able to hezzy and go all the way to the basket and get a layup. And that's the beauty of the in-between game. And those are the type of things. What I liked about that play also is it wasn't scripted. Jaylen didn't say, hey, I'm just going to do a step back. No, it was reading how closely Lively was playing up to him, because he had been converting at that mid-range and made that a real weapon. But yeah, a solid game from Jaylen, really in the first half, but I thought he wasn't bad in the second half either. I thought he just missed some layups that he could have made.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rockets, when Jaylen plays like this, right? And this was my point in the last episode that I recorded, is when Jaylen plays like this and he has that downhill gravity, right? When there's a complement to Alperen Sengun in the two-man game, it makes it so much harder to figure out the Houston Rockets offense, because it's not as simple as just, okay, they're going to dump the ball to Alp and then it's going to kick out to shooters who are, shooting career worst numbers from three-point land. And the Rockets still didn't shoot the ball very well in this game. Only attempted 25 threes threes, only hit 8 of them. I love that play you highlighted about Jaylen kind of using tempo, right? To get around Lively. Had that like 1-2 step after he pulled it back out and hit the hezzy. He also had that ridiculous circus shot where he got downhill and finished like up and under through like 3 different Mavericks.
In the fast break?
Yeah, I have no idea how, dude, no idea how he finished that shot. And one other angle to consider here, and this is like a team-wide thing, but Jaylen also did a good job of this, right, was getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls. The Rockets did a great job. It kind of let up as the game went on, but early on especially, the reason the Rockets weren't down by like, 15, 20, whatever in the first half of this game was because they held on with the free throw line. Like at one point, I think the Rockets had attempted like 13 free throws and the Mavericks hadn't even attempted a single one yet. Like they were getting they were being physical, they were driving with intention, they were drawing fouls, and they were getting sent to the free throw line. They were in the bonus super early.
Yeah, they were in the bonus. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and so getting all those extra free throws kind of helped them stay in the game. And then when their offense exploded there in the second quarter, they were able to take control of things. Want to talk about the performances from Alperen Sengun and Cam Whitmore, as well as the Rockets defense limiting Kyrie Irving to just 16 points in this game. We're gonna get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories this past year was going to a Taking Back Sunday concert, and I got the tickets on Game Time. The energy and excitement was unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite live events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different ticketing offers. Recently, I was looking for some tickets a little bit later this month for a Rockets game for me and some friends, and using the Game Time app, it makes it so easy. With Game Time Picks, you can find amazing deals and can see the view from your seat before you even buy your tickets. The super deal is so impressive. It offers you great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app has an all-in pricing feature, shows you your total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. They're fully transparent with you, so take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, Madison, let's go to the defensive side of things here for just a moment. Mentioned it, but the Rockets defense in this game, similar to their first meetup with the Mavericks, they did a great job forcing turnovers and letting having the defense kind of ignite their offense. In this one in particular, Mavs had 20 turnovers, and I think it was like 16 or 17 of them were steals, and that led to 22 points for the Rockets off of those turnovers. And you look up and down the roster, I mean, Alperen Sengun had I believe it was a career high 6 steals in this game. Fred had 5 steals. Jabari had a couple steals. Cam Whitmore only credited for 1 steal, but he had like a couple like kind of deflections or just, played the passing lanes really well. Yeah. Like the defense and the activity by the Rockets in this game, especially once, because the initial defensive goal was to stop Kyrie, right? And there were a lot of moments where like Dillon Brooks, the head of the snake, did a great job defending Kyrie, but there were a lot of moments where they would hit Kyrie with a trap or send like a quick double at him or whatever. And then the Rockets I thought they did a really good job outside of those, not letting the other Mavs beat them, which is usually like that's the recipe, right? We don't want Kyrie to beat us. Other guys are gonna have to beat us, and the Rockets didn't even let the other guys beat them or Kyrie.
Yeah, no, I thought the Rockets defense was really good, and I thought their rotations were excellent. You were talking about Cam Whitmore with the 1 steal, but there was one play he forced a turnover. There was a blitz at the top of the key, and that led to an open roller, and Cam was the weak side, but Cam rotated on point to that weak side, which forced the big man to pass to Cam's man, but it was an errant pass because of how well that Cam rotated, and it just went out of bounds. It was a forced turnover that Cam's not going to get the credit for. You know what I mean? He's not getting the credit for that steal, but it was his rotation that made that big man make extra plays. And I thought there were a lot of plays like that from some of the unsung defenders on our team, like Cam. I thought that wasn't the only play that Cam had some really good rotations. I could really see his improvement, I thought, especially in the first half defensively, him really getting after that and being a backside threat. I also thought Jaylen played well defensively defensively, especially in the first half. Had some blocks, really got after it.
Yo, he had that he had that block on Jaden Hardy at the end of the first quarter. That was ridiculous. Like he timed it out, and as soon as Hardy went up for it, he was just nope. Like that was like one of those like the forearm blocks, like where he didn't even get the hand on there. He had his whole forearm blocking that shot.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. Not just from the guys that we know bring it every night, but also some of our guys that we know they have the ability to play defense, and you can really just see they have really begun to polish their defensive acumen and become more consistent. And that's why we can lose a Amen Thompson and a Tari Eason and still come out with a very, very effective defensive game. And we'll live with the Jaden Ivey step back threes. He hit a couple step back threes, in that first half, but we'll live with that. That's what we'll live with on this team, right? I thought they played very well defensively, and once those steals start to lead into the fast break, the Rockets offense comes really easily, and that's the best way to play with our guards.
I want to give a quick shout out here, though. He had an off night offensively. Again, not asked to do a ton offensively in this game. Fred VanVleet only 5 points, 1 of 8 shooting, 0-4 from downtown. You don't like to see those numbers because even when his role is reduced offensively, and we're going to discuss kind of some of the Rockets' offensive identity in this game and hopefully some bigger picture stuff in our final segment here. Ideally, he's still knocking down those threes, right? He needs the three ball going to really be the most effective version of himself, whether he's, getting 15, 20 shots a game or whether he's has a more quiet night like this one. But defensively, I thought Fred did a good job kind of after Klay Thompson got off to that quick start, right? Hit a few early threes, and that was part of the Mavericks jumping out to that 30-24 lead after the first quarter was Klay Thompson getting a little loose defensively. Fred did a great job sticking to Klay after that point, right? And Ime shouted him out post game. The defense that Fred did, really sticking to Klay Thompson, not losing track of him, because Klay's a guy that the moment you make Klay Thompson put the ball on the floor, you've won that possession. Like the moment you force Klay to dribble, you've won that possession. And the Rockets did a poor job of that in the first quarter. And then after that was when they clamped down defensively, and he barely made an impact after that.
Yeah, no, Fred's hands was sensational today. I mean, he made plays all over the court. Whoa. It's just hands, man. It's just hands. But anyway, I think he made plays all around the court today. I mean, he got deflections. I thought he dug like he dug down on the backside and got steals, and I thought that really led to a lot of the fast breaks. I thought Fred was like one of the primary guys. Fred and Alp were primary guys that led to a lot of the fast breaks, and there was even some opportunities that we didn't even convert on. There was just so many opportunities, how well they were playing the passing lanes and defense, and really just understanding what the Mavs were trying to do. You know what I mean? So, kudos to those guys, and we got of course, big shout out to Cam. Once again, staying ready, being the ultimate play finisher, man. And he was kind of lights out from 3 tonight. I thought he really got out and open and running, and he's starting to play within the offense so seamlessly. You know what I mean? It's really good to see him, understanding that role and us getting a better version of Cam that we had last year. We got to see it more consistently, but like I said, it's a better version because now he's adding in the defensive principles that we talked about, the backside rotations, which we know were a big weakness of Cam's. That is the type of improvement we like to see in year 2. And that's the type of stuff that's going to keep him on the court.
Yeah, no, look, we can keep it focused on Cam here for the rest of this segment.
Yeah.
Because he was, I felt like he was maybe maybe one of the bigger stories from this game is just his impact since he's been kind of thrust back in the rotation by necessity because of the injuries, with Tari Eason being held out with the injury maintenance stuff, which again, that's a whole ordeal there. Now 7 straight games missed with the injury maintenance, and he's dealing with pain flare-ups and all this. So it's not looking great there. Amen Thompson out with the suspension. So Rockets, a little short-staffed, and Cam has stepped up in a big way these last few games. Last game against the Heat was a bit of a quiet one, but he's had 3 or 4 really big games now since coming back up. And Ime talked about it post game, right? Is sometimes young guys, when they're sent down, it can be viewed as like a demotion, right? You're sent down to the G League. You were part of the rotation last year, and Cam didn't take it that way, right? He understood, hey, these are the things that the coaching staff want me to work on. They want me to work on my defensive awareness. They want me to work on my shot selection offensively, right? Not just being, not just pulling the quick trigger and playing within the flow of the offense. And you're seeing so many of those different things kind of take root now on a nightly basis when he's out there, and he's got different possessions where you're seeing like different ways for him to attack, right? He had that one where he drove in from the baseline against Derek Lively, and instead of just like last year's Cam or like even like earlier this season, he would have driven straight into Derek Lively and tried to just like power up through him. Instead, he just sidestepped him on the baseline and then laid it up for an easy 2 at the rim, 0 contact. And it's like, I don't know if Cam had that move in his bag like even earlier this season.
I mean, I just want to contrast that to the way that I feel like Jaylen struggled to finish a lot of times around Lively. I mean, just understanding how to slow down in that instance and change of pace. Lively made, when Lively came in the second half, he made life hell for Jaylen at the rim. And it was Jaylen was beating his man easily, right? Lively was just a help side defender who was always there on time. But as Jaylen is such a quick player, he only has really his change of pace is lacking in that area and reading that low man. But just subtle movements like Cam used in that play of just attacking on the downside and sidestepping him for an easy layup. Lively couldn't even contest that shot. You know what I mean? And he's there early. He couldn't even contest that shot, but that's how well he sold that misdirection and change of pace in that Euro step. And that's the type of stuff we want to see from Cam. He's going to continue to build on that and be an excellent player for the Rockets moving down. And we need that. We need this scoring punch because this team really struggles to shoot the ball. So it's really good to have a ultimate play finisher that we can put in games and really take over when it isn't someone else's night. We have somebody else in our pocket that we can trust to make shots, and now we can also trust to defend at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, look, even Ime said this post game, right? Is Cam's always been a pretty strong like one-on-one defender. Like when his man has the ball and he's got a D up, he'll be fine. He's got the strong body. He's athletic. He can stick with guys. He's got the side to side quickness. Like it doesn't matter. You're gonna struggle to score on Cam one-on-one. But it's the other things, the little, and part of it too is the recognition, not even just when he's playing, when he's off ball, whatever, and his defensive awareness, but the communication element is big. The way that the Rockets switch, right? Anticipating how you're going to switch. And there was maybe, Ime called this out post game, there was only one play, and it was like this weird like flex cut that the Mavs ran where like PJ Washington got a curl like right to the rim, and that was like the only play where I think like Cam like died defensively in this game. It used to be like Cam would have like 3, 4, 5 plays a game where you're like, Cam, he fell asleep or he didn't box out on a rebound or something, and like his man would get something. And in this game to only have one, I guess, on paper defensive mistake, quote unquote, is immense progress for him.
Yeah. Got to commend him, man. And like you said, only one mistake, but also to compound that with several, I'd say, impact defensive plays, right? Like those backside rotations on the backside. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff we really want to see, man. But we got to show Alp some love too, man. We got to get to that.
We do. We're going to talk about Alp's game, how he bounced back from his 0-4 start, as well as kind of a big picture look at the Houston Rockets offense and something hopefully they can take from this game moving into those around the corner. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com. They've got so many different ways for you to pick up a dub. You can bet on which players are going to score a touchdown first or how many points each team will ultimately score, and so many other things to check out. Check out their parlay builder. Check out the different season awards. You can still get in on those before the regular season closes, or the outright favorites to win the Super Bowl. Right now, the Chiefs plus 360, the Lions plus 470, the Bills right behind them at plus 600, the Ravens plus 650, and then rounding out the top 5, the Eagles at plus 700. So for all those odds and so much more, go to FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. We've mentioned it a couple times in the show now, but Alp in this game, first off, his stat line was stuffed, Madison. He didn't rebound the ball as well as he has been as of late, but he was flirting with a 4x5. He had 23 points on 9 of 16 shooting. Again, that's after the 0-4 start, so went 9-12 to finish the game after that slow start. Only 5 of 8 at the charity stripe. He had that empty trip where he went 0 for 2. Needs to be a little bit better at the free throw shooting, but he had 6 boards, 4 dimes, 6 steals, 4 turnovers. We're going to talk about that too, because it was a little bit of a mixed bag, right? And I really thought that in that second quarter, you saw what happens when teams decide to guard Alp in single coverage, and he got guys in foul trouble, and he got to the rim at will. You saw different points in the game where he was, anytime somebody's guarding Alp in single coverage, it's almost like they're barbecue chicken, because he's going to figure out whether he needs to play with power and play through them, play with finesse and get around them, play with patience and just get them, fake them out, and then, wait for them to go flying by and then finish the rim. And he had a little bit of all that throughout this game.
Yeah, man. Once again, another great game by Alp. I think Alp's growing as a player with his aggressiveness as a go-to scorer right now. And I think he is trying to find balance between being aggressive and scoring at the rim and also playmaking for the rest of his teammates. And I think he's trying to put an emphasis on, really putting pressure at the rim, and even when he sees 2 or 3 defenders, he's like, nah, let's be a little patient. I can still get this up and make a good bucket. And I think he's forcing the issue and trying to be more aggressive in those ways, but also still trying to play make. And I think that's where the turnovers start to leak in. That's where we start to see Alp get a little bit too aggressive in the backside. Triple team kind of pokes the ball from up under him and those type of things. But those are all things I think Alp's going to get better at and is getting better at. And this is the perfect time for us to polish right now. View the Rockets as the type of team. We're already a good team. Now it's about finding out how to execute in high pressure situations. And when you have 2 and 3 defenders on you, how do you move the ball? How do you execute in those issues? Who is our go-to player? What is the type of offense that we want to run? And I think Alp is kind of, and all our young players are kind of working through that right now. And like you said, Alp with another wonderful game. And this is not going to hit the stat sheet, but Alp really got these guys into foul trouble in the bonus in that first half. I mean, Alp's ability to draw fouls, even with the league's defocusing on foul calling, you know what I mean? Alp's ability to still put that much pressure on guys, because that's how bad he's beating guys at the rim. And so, we really need to give a shout out for Alp, because he really is our best player. And I think he's coming into his own as a go-to guy down the stretch, and a guy that we can trust. And even there was just some passes that he didn't even get assists from, man. He hit Jayshawn Tate something nasty, no look, that really faked everyone out, but Jayshawn kind of lost it.
Faked out Jayshawn Tate. He wasn't ready for the pass. He fumbled and trying to go up for the shot.
Yeah, no, but just Alp really being able to put that pressure as an offensive scorer and really putting the numbers up as a scorer, but also maintaining his ability to make guys better. That's the balance he kind of has to strike. And right now, I think we're going through a little bit of the growing pains with the turnovers.
No, absolutely. And that's the biggest next step for him, is recognizing and being able to dial in and figure out, okay, how am I beating these double teams? And look, I've said this, I don't know how many times this season, the blanket issue, and this is the much bigger issue for the Rockets as a team, is they just don't shoot the basketball well. And because they don't shoot the ball well, teams are able to double and triple team Alp, because there are no 3-point threats out on the perimeter, right? That Dillon Brooks is the team's best shooter. Everybody else is below league average at this point. Jabari's trending up, but then after those two guys, the Rockets have a bunch of bad shooters on the team. And so unfortunately, it's not the end of the world. Like, teams, it's a win for teams that they can force the ball out of Alp's hands and into the hands of these Rockets shooters who were just not shooting the ball well from beyond the arc, at all. Even in this game, again, the Rockets found a way to win. They found a way to put up 110, but Fred missed 4 threes. Jalen missed 3 threes. The Rockets as a team only shot 32% from beyond the arc. The Rockets have found ways to win despite not shooting the ball well. And even in this game, they didn't really get one of their, usually their win conditions is those second chance points, right? Rebounding their misses and getting those second chance opportunities. They only had 4 offensive rebounds in this game. They were actually out-rebounded by the Mavericks 38-35, and usually that's a bad sign for the Rockets, but they were able to get so much going downhill, and again, a big part of that was Lively, Gafford, the other bigs for the Mavericks being in foul trouble and not being able to be as aggressive, closing out on guys, rotating over and contesting at the rim. I also want to point out here, Alp is 5th in the NBA in fouls drawn. that is like SGA is number one by a pretty wide margin because SGA is the premier foul merchant in today's NBA. But to be like top 5 in fouls drawn, like that's just what Alp kind of brings to the table. And I don't know when's the last time, Madison, that I've seen a guy who actually did draw a foul and then also received a technical for complaining about it.
The refs are crazy. The ref, no, I think he gave him a tech because he kind of flailed and kind of hit Maxey with his elbow and gave him a tech.
Maybe that's
he gave him a tech for that.
I thought he gave him the tech because afterwards Alp thought he got the foul called on him, and so he was like, "What?" Like he did like the Home Alone, like what? And then I thought that's what the tech was for. We'll have to go back. I don't know. We'll go back and figure that out. See what the technical was actually for. There was also, I don't know. I feel like Ime is getting a little bit more creative at times too with how they're getting Alp the basketball, because at times it's just super vanilla. And, you know, when Alp gets the ball, whether he's facing up or on the block, sometimes there's like no ball, there's no off ball movement, and guys are just standing around. And that makes it really easy for defenses to just key in. Okay, cool. Everybody's just going to stand there. Cool. Let's send a double or a triple at Alp, and nobody's cutting, nobody's moving. They did a few different things. There was one that I wrote down in my notes that I wanted to highlight. They ran like this flex cut kind of wrinkle action for Alp to get him in the middle, like off motion, and then attacked outside of that. Even like Hollins talked about it on the broadcast. And I was like, yeah, this was like a good little move so that Alp doesn't have to like attack, you know, a post defender who's just, you know, guarding him straight up one-on-one, and then the defense can send the double team over. So I do think like for the coaching staff, for Alp, the more creative that they can get with some of the different ways to get him the basketball in different spots on the floor will also open things up, because then it's not as one-dimensional as just one style of play the whole time, through him at least.
No, definitely understand. I mean, it really just needs to be a balance. Alp needs help out there. He needs another threat. And although Fred VanVleet is probably the best at getting Alp the ball in various different situations, I think there still needs to be a gravity component, like in the form of Jalen Green, that also is able to build that chemistry, because we've seen over the years that Jalen and Alp actually do play very well together in the pick and roll. They actually do complement each other, and they get everyone involved when they do so. And tonight we kind of seen a shift with Jalen initiating the offense and Fred kind of playing the off ball role. But you see, Fred was still so effective in the off ball role. He still finished with, I think, 5 assists and still 7 assists. But yeah, still able to set the table and get guys involved. But you still have the threat of this Jalen Alp 2-man.
Fred did. I talked about how Alp almost had a 4x5. Fred did have a 4x5.
4x5. Jesus.
He had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 steals. So there you go, 4x5 for Fred VanVleet.
But that's Fred for you, man. Doing all the little things, like, and I think Fred is much better at doing that than Jalen. I think we lose a lot of Jalen skill sets when we just park him in the corner and don't really get him involved as much, because he's just not as good at the little things as Fred is, right? And those are areas that he's improved on, but it's just not good enough, really. And I think for this team to be successful in the playoffs, they have to start maybe taking a couple L's here and there so they can train these guys up in how to handle high pressure situations. So these guys know how to understand how to perform down the stretch with the ball in their hands, how to not turn the ball over. Jalen didn't turn the ball over until he got to the fourth quarter in high pressure situations, and then he had 2 turnovers. And then Fred had to take over the offense. It's like, for me, like, I understand you got to stop the bleeding with Fred, but there's going to be a lot more bleeding in the playoffs if these guys don't find a way to smooth these things out during the regular season. This is a good team. We know we can win this way, but we seen in the in-season tournament, when teams really turn it up defensively, when they really make everything hard, you're going to need other threats. You're going to need guys, and this is the time for our guys to figure out where their spots on the floor. How do they perform in those high-pressure situations? And that's why I think it's important that as long as Jalen is on this team, we need to be putting him in a position to be effective. You know what I mean? And Alp needs that type of help. He can't be the only one effective on this team.
Yeah, he again.
The
recipe, the recipe for success is there. Alp has a ton of individual gravity, whether it's in isolation, posting up, facing up, whatever. But he's at his best when you're able to play him in a 2-man game with Jaylen, with Fred. So when one of those guys really does have it going, they're having a big night. That's when the Rockets look like they're at their best. And honestly, I fully agree with you here. I don't know what the Rockets' approach is going to be here with kind of, I guess, the pain tolerance, so to speak, because I think the concern here is, Jaylen hasn't shown it consistently enough to where the Rockets are, and where Ime specifically is willing to kind of take some of those L's and deal with some of the pain tolerance and the learning curve, because if Jaylen's not showing it consistently, even when it's not those high pressure situations, then what are you going to expect when he does get to those high pressure situations? But I do agree with you that for the Rockets to be the best version of themselves, Ime might have to just wean himself off of Fred like he did this game, right? Basically step away from Fred. And I think and this is a whole debate amongst Rockets fans and everybody, the whole Jaylen versus Fred and all this. And again, I find myself on the side of the aisle that Jaylen I don't know if he's done enough at this point to warrant the benefit of the doubt, I guess, because again, if you're not consistent even when the pressure isn't cranked up to 11, then what's going to why do you deserve the reps in the crunch time to begin with? But at the same time, I do see your argument. I see your standpoint is you're not going to get there. You're not going to see the Rockets just need to see it, right? They need to have the data sets to figure out can Jaylen be capable of this, right? Even if it's going to take 20, 25 games, and you might lose some games here and there because of it, you're going to be a better team. The ceiling of this team will be higher if you get a version of Jaylen that can handle those high pressure moments and can deliver in the 2-man game with Alp. And that's kind of the big question mark for this Rockets team, right? A lot of the upper ends outcomes for this Rockets team are based on what Jaylen Green can or can't become at this point, because Alp is who he is. He's playing like an all-star.
Exactly.
He's the consistent engine for this Rockets team, and this Rockets team lives or dies some nights on how Jaylen Green plays.
Yeah, they really do. And for me, I think it's really a crux for this team because they really have their eyes set on the playoffs, and Jaylen has been inconsistent, and Jaylen is just, let's be honest, not good enough right now. But we can't forget that as long as Jaylen is on this team, we need to be cultivating and developing him. You know what I mean? Because the upside is still there. And where I'm at is Jaylen has not had the breakout, that we like to see, right? But Jaylen has improved. And we can see that by how consistent he is at killing bad teams. 2 years ago, Jaylen couldn't kill any team at one time. But now he's figured out, he's gotten better enough where when he gets to a bad team, he can kill them. And I think now the next step is, okay, how to score in the NBA. Now, how do you score against set defenses? How do you solve problems and that's where I think Jaylen is in his development. And I'm not saying just give all the reps to Jaylen. No, I'm just saying I don't think the leash should be as tight. Right. We have to mix him in a little bit, and we have to live with some of the turnovers. Now, if he's just losing the game for us, of course, Fred, you go ahead and take it. That's what Fred's here for, right? I just think, a little bit more leash, because this, to me, I'm thinking forward now, and I'm thinking for the playoffs, because right now, I think the Rockets need to be able to win a first round. They need to be able to win a first round. I think they're going to make the first round of the playoffs, but they need to be able to win the first round series if we're consistently in the top 3 of the league. And I don't know if we're going to do that if we're just, spamming Fred VanVleet and Alperen Sengun pick and roll, because I just don't think that dynamic is good enough for our team.
These are fantastic points, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. There were a couple other things, just a quick aside here. Jabari Smith Jr., quiet night, only 12 points, but he got going kind of in that third quarter. Hit some turnarounds. He had that driving baseline dunk. That was nice from him. And then last one here, Aaron Holiday. Looks like he has officially overtaken Reed Sheppard in the rotation. We've seen a few games now of Aaron Holiday playing over Reed Sheppard. I would fully expect Reed to be probably sent down to the G League at some point so that he can get those reps just like Cam Whitmore did. It's probably only a matter of time now before he ultimately does get sent down there for some added exposure. And Steven Adams continues to be really solid in his minutes. 4 points, 4 rebounds, only 7 minutes played. We got a dunk from Steven Adams in this game. That was kind of cool to see.
One.
So he can still get up. Big boy can still get up there. All right. And last thing, I buried this all the way at the end, but we haven't been able to release the hounds in a minute. So
release the hounds.
Go do a drive-by the Locked On Mavs post-game podcast. Tell them Locked On Rockets sent you. Go comment on their YouTube video, all that good stuff. But with that, that's going to do it for our show. Madison, let everybody know where to track you down at.
You can find me on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Come talk Rockets basketball and NBA draft.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thanks so much for checking out the show. Remember, the best way you can help us grow the show is by listening every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, liking and subscribing on YouTube. Drop us a comment while you're there. Subscribe to the daily Locked On Rockets newsletter. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.